The First Time is a romantic comedy centered on the first weekend of a fledgling romance between two high school kids.
Have you had sex yet?
Honestly?
No, lie to me.
Not yet. Have you done it yet?
None of your business. Maybe we could lie here for a minute.
20 minutes.
Honey, wake up. It's almost 11.
I'll be out in a minute.
What now?
Jump.
Is a stone.
The only thing I knew about The First Time when I saw it at its premiere at the 2012 Sundance Film Festival was that it was about a high school romance. And I like romance movies, especially when they're about high school or college kids, because that's my age. And it turns out that while it's enjoyable, it's very, very bubblegum, if you catch my drift. This movie looks and feels like a Nickelodeon romance, if that makes any sense. It's very, as I said, bubblegum or cotton candy, if you use sweet treats to describe movies. But like I said, I did enjoy it overall, and that's because halfway-ish through the movie, it gets better. The first half of it, like I said, feels very sort of silly, and immature is not the word, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. And then it gets better. It has the same tone, that very glossy tone, but I think that the story got better and I got more interested and more invested, and it kind of almost backtracked on itself and made the rest of it enjoyable, even though I kind of was iffy on it while I was watching it. It's a little bit hard to explain, but let me give it a shot by starting off with the writing and the plot, which was, I think, good enough. It is called The First Time, and it is primarily about the first time, whether you want to say it's about your first romance or your first time having sex. It's the first time. And I always enjoy stuff like that because, like I said, I am a young person, and I can relate more or less to characters that are closer to my age, obviously. But that being said, it's a little harder to relate to this movie because it doesn't feel very realistic. It feels kind of like looking back on high school, your fantasy of what you wish high school could have been. But it does have awkwardness and awkward, movie dates and stuff like that. So on some level, it felt very unrealistic. On another level, it felt a little more in line with something I could relate to. But overall, unfortunately, like I said, it does kind of have this glossy tone, and that is kind of in the writing, but more so in the directing, which was definitely weird. It did kind of feel like a Nickelodeon romance movie, and hopefully you understand what I mean by that. I mean childish, I guess, and that's not the right word either, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying by this point. Now, there is something in the writing and directing, which it's the same guy, so it doesn't really matter, that makes me think this might be why it feels sort of childish or immature, or whatever word you want to use that might be better than those. And that is the fact that they say words like doink, as in to have sex with. That's the definition of doink. Gnarly, words that you really don't hear kids saying often. And it kind of felt like it was almost an out-of-touch element, which I think would explain sort of the movie having this odd kind of out-of-touch with reality feeling to it. But then again, that might be the point. Maybe it is supposed to be almost like a fantasy looking back at high school. I don't know, but that kind of threw me off because I couldn't relate to some of those elements. Like I said, I do think it got better around halfway through, and it made me appreciate the movie overall because I got interested in the characters and invested in their story and kind of fell in love with them, but not that dramatic. And that, of course, has to do with the acting as well, but this is where that kind of glossy bubblegum feeling still continues because your two leads look like actors. And I always hate saying that because it's not fair. They look the way they look, you know what I mean? But that aside, I do think they did a good job at kind of handling the awkwardness. I thought Britt Robertson was a little bit too much in some spots, like a little bit too desperate to be awkward, you know what I mean? It felt a little bit off. But I think that the standouts actually were Dave's friends, which I thought were hilarious, and also Victoria Justice is in the movie. I did not think she was terrible. I didn't think she was great, but she definitely wasn't terrible, and I thought she might be because, hey, there you go, that's a Nickelodeon tie, I just realized. I don't know if any of the other actors are on Nickelodeon, but they look like they would be. That's my point. I also thought the Ronnie character was funny, and I enjoyed that kind of aspect of the movie. And overall, while it did have this kind of weird tone of fantasy high school, sort of looking back and dreaming, man, if only high school was like this, which caused it to have this sort of glossy tone that was hard to relate to, I did enjoy the movie, and I thought that it was charming. It definitely had plenty of charm to it. It had the awkwardness it's supposed to have. It had the laughs it's supposed to have. Like I said, I thought that the friends were hilarious. They provided a lot of laughs. And so, yeah, overall, I enjoyed The First Time. So let me know in the comments what you thought of The First Time. Let me know, hopefully you understand, because I said it a million times in this review, what I mean about it feeling glossy or bubblegum or cotton candy or Nickelodeon. Whatever description you want to use to say, oh, that's what he means. Let me know if you understand what I mean. If you don't understand what I mean, clearly there is no other way I can explain it, so crossing my fingers. Let me know if you do relate to this movie and your high school experience was exactly like this. I don't know, maybe it was. Let me know what you thought of the cast. Let me know anything that you want about The First Time. And that's pretty much it.
Wish I could just go back to the beginning. Beginning? You mean Friday?